Today I played one of the perfect game in the tournament, and let's see how did it go. So my opponent started with knight on f3, which was quite surprising because he had so many variations and I did not expect what he would play. Knight on f6, c4, e6, g3 and d5. There are many options. Instead of knight on f6 here, there is d5, e6, c5. There's tons of variations and I decided to play knight on f6, c4, e6, g3 and d5. Well, here was also possible to play c5, but I preferred to centralize my pawns, so I played d5 here, and my opponent played bishop g2. Here was also possibilities like d4, and this would transfer into Catalan after bishop b4, so probably he wanted to avoid Catalan, and that's why he played bishop g2, and I played c5. Instead of c5, it was also possible to play d5, d4, but somehow I didn't want to let b4, and I was not really sure how would I have continued here, so that's why I played c5. He took, I took, and d4. And knight c6. This is really regular continuation. Even though I get isolated pawn on d5, I get space and development of my pieces. Castle and h6. The idea of h6 was not to let bishop g5 and then simply develop bishop on e6 and not let knight g5. Knight c3 and bishop e6. The idea was to protect pawn on d5 and then develop dark squared bishop. I think bishop e7 would be possible as well, but somehow I did not want him to forcefully take on c5. So I played bishop e6, which was fine move also, and my opponent played bishop f4. He could have played b3 to develop this bishop, or a3, or but bishop f4 was really good move. a6. The idea of a6 was not to let knight b5, but rook c8 would be possible also because after knight b5, here just simply a6 and it does not allow anything here. So that's why I played a6 and it was good, but rook c8 was possible also. a6, rook c1 and rook c8. The idea here is just simply to develop rook and kind of protect my c file. He took, I took, which was really good for me because I wanted to play bishop e7, but after bishop e7 they usually take pawn on c5, so they kind of take extra tempo here, and when they took on c5 it's better for another side because they just simply develop bishop without losing tempo, so I liked it. Knight on a4 and bishop a7. Here I'm doing great. I think he should have just played knight on e5 here, and I think he was calculating knight e5, but here I would just simply take on bishop on f2, and then I'm just simply doing good. Take, and I was thinking knight e5, and then there is castle. This rook seems like stuck on f2, so it's better position for me. And he played knight on a4, and I played bishop on a7. Here I was thinking he would play knight c5, where I am forced to take, otherwise I don't want to give light squared bishop and have two hanging pawns, so I should take, and probably play castle, and which is fine position for me. Everything is protected, so I really would not complain here, but he played knight e5, which was better for me because I can just simply castle. This is what I wanted from the beginning, and I castled only on 13th move, but thankfully my king was really safe that I did not have to rush to castle. Take, and take. Here I was thinking to take with pawn, but I didn't want to give knight c5 and dark squared bishop, so that's why first I wanted to take with rook and take, and then I would be fine here. Queen c2 and queen on a5. Everything is going perfectly. I just simply developed my queen. I want to attack knight on a4 and c5 is hanging. Bishop d6. He played very good move. Rook e8. The idea here is to just simply play bishop d4 and queen b5. Here I'm doing good actually because I developed my rook, I developed my queen, and I'm simply doing great here. Bishop c5 and take on c5. There is no other option because if I move bishop on b5 I will lose tempo and his bishop will become strong, so I have to take it. And bishop g4. Well, I was thinking queen b4, which was also a good move here, but somehow I first wanted to start attacking on e2 before I would take on b4 because it's forced, like he's forced to play e3 and I take it, and queen on a3. He had some options here, knight c5, queen c6, but queen c6 seems pretty scary because probably he was calculating moves like bishop e2 and stuff like that, and here knight is hanging, so that's why he played knight c5, and which was great for me because I just simply play rook b8 and I get really strong b file for my rook, and rook b2 is hanging, so he is forced to play knight b3. Here I was calculating different variations, but c5 is only moved because first of all, if he takes with knight, here is rook c8, and if rook on c1, here is knight d7, and I am literally winning the knight. And if here he would take with queen c5, rook b3, and thankfully he can't play queen on c8 because this bishop is literally protecting the square. So thankfully I saw all of this and I played c5, which was only move to get big advantage here. h3 and bishop e6, doing good, protecting my d5 pawn. Rook b1 and knight d7. The idea here is to protect pawn on c5 and then play c4 or rook c8 or d4. It would show me. Knight d2 and rook on a8. Well, here was other possibilities like rook b4, but I wanted to remain this rook, so I played rook on a8, rook b2 and knight on e5. Here idea is to play either knight d3, knight c4, etc. Knight b1 and queen on a5. Actually, queen on a5 was not great move here. I think it would be much better to play queen on a7. But I think queen on a5 is doing great job as it's attacking first rank. Knight c3 and rook d8. He played good move and queen on a7. Here, of course, white got a little bit better play. I was more active before and I kind of gave away activity after I played queen on a5. But still, we had time trouble. Plus, over the board, it's really hard to see everything like what engine says. Of course, you can see that. So, as a human mind here, black has pretty big activity. Pawn on a2 is hanging. Yeah, that's why I preferred my position with black. And knight on a4. That's why my opponent blundered. He just wanted simply to take these pawns and start breathing in his position because I was pretty active. But that's why he blundered this exchange. Bishop d7, knight c3, take, queen b6, and knight c3. I just simply play d4, creating passed pawn, play queen d6, take, and play d3. Just simply winning here because after queen d2 I was calculating queen c5, and any other moves I can either take on d5 or play queen c2. Everything is hanging here. So I played queen c3, he missed knight d7 and knight b6 and a win of the piece. And here he resigned. He didn't play bishop f1, he just resigned, but then pieces moved like that after like setting up position again. So yeah, he resigned after knight b6 because he's just simply losing piece here. This was my first win with black. Finally, I won first game with black colors and I'm really happy. And tomorrow round is at 10 AM, again morning round, but I will do my best. And if you liked the recap, make sure to give thumbs up and subscribe my YouTube channel.